In the year 2000, the internet was still a strange place. Social media didn't exist. Most people used anonymous usernames. And that's why almost nobody noticed when a quiet post appeared on an obscure message board. The user wrote something simple.
Greetings. I'm a time traveler from the year 2036.
Normally, a message like that would disappear instantly into internet noise. But this user didn't disappear. Instead, he stayed. For months. He answered questions about the future, explained how time travel works, and even posted technical diagrams of the machine he used. He claimed to be an American soldier sent back through time on a mission. Not to stop a war, not to prevent a disaster, but to retrieve a very specific computer from the year 1975. A machine called the IBM 5100. The man said his name was John Titor. And the longer people spoke with him, the harder it became to explain who he really was. Because if John Titor was lying, he knew an unusual amount about the future. And if he was telling the truth, then the internet may have briefly spoken to someone who hadn't been born yet. The story began quietly on November 2, 2000. A user called Time Travel Zero appeared on the Time Travel Institute forum. At first, the post didn't mention time travel at all. Instead, the user described the engineering requirements of a time machine. He wrote,
Time travel requires 6 components: 2 rotating singularities, a gravity sensor, a cesium clock, 3 main computers, and a power system.
This was strange. The explanation sounded technical, not fictional. Then the same user began posting on another forum connected to the famous late-night radio show Art Bell. Bell's program Coast to Coast AM had millions of listeners who loved discussing mysteries. And it was here that the story changed. The user finally revealed his identity.
My name is John Titor. I'm an American soldier stationed in the year 2036.
He claimed that time travel had been invented decades later through gravitational research connected to CERN. But his mission wasn't in the future. It was in the past. He said he had traveled to 1975. And that's when the mystery took a strange turn. Because according to Titor, the most important object in the entire mission was not a weapon, not secret technology, but a forgotten computer from the 1970s. The computer was called the IBM 5100. It was released in 1975 by IBM. Even in the early 2000s, it looked ancient. So naturally people asked him the obvious question. Why would someone from the year 2036 need such an old machine? Titor replied,
The IBM 5100 has the ability to emulate older IBM mainframe systems. This feature will be needed in the future to debug legacy code.
At the time, almost nobody online knew what he was talking about. But years later, IBM engineers confirmed something interesting. The IBM 5100 really did have a little-known capability allowing it to emulate older IBM systems. It wasn't widely advertised, which raised a question. How did a random forum user knew about it? Some people suggested the author might be an IBM engineer. Others thought it was just a good research. But the computer wasn't the strangest part of the story. Because soon, John Titor began explaining something even more unusual. How the future actually worked. And according to him, the future wasn't fixed. In fact, every time traveler might create a completely different reality. Titor claimed his time machine was installed inside a military vehicle. He even posted diagrams showing its components. According to him, the device contained 2 rotating microscopic black holes held inside magnetic containment units. These singularities distorted gravity and created a curve in space-time called Kepler's sinusoid. This allowed the machine to move through time. But there was a catch. Traveling to the past did not change your original future. Instead, it created a slightly different timeline. Titor called this world-line divergence. He explained it like this.
When I leave 2036, I arrive in a world that is similar to mine, but not identical.
This conveniently explained why his predictions might not match our timeline exactly. And speaking of predictions, John Titor made quite a few. But the future he described was not a comfortable one. According to Titor, the early 21st century would become increasingly unstable. He warned about growing political division. He described a coming civil conflict in the United States beginning around 2004. He also predicted a global war around 2015. When forum users asked him about life in 2036, his answers sounded surprisingly ordinary. He described smaller communities, less reliance on local governments, and a slower pace of life. Some readers believed him. Others were certain it was a hoax. But everyone agreed on one thing. The conversation was fascinating. And then suddenly, it ended. Because in March of 2001, John Titor disappeared. There was no final message, no dramatic goodbye. The posts simply stopped. Over the following years, investigators tried to uncover who had created the story. One of the most common theories involves an American lawyer named Larry Haber. Haber later helped promote a book collecting Titor's messages. Some researchers believe the story may have been created by Haber and his brother, computer scientist John C. Haber. But there's a problem. No one has ever proven it. No confession exists, no definitive evidence, which means the true identity of John Titor remains unknown. Today, the John Titor story is often dismissed as an elaborate internet hoax, and maybe it was, but one detail still bothers investigators: the computer. The obscure 1975 machine that most people had never heard of. The one that a supposed traveler from 2036 traveled across decades to retrieve. Maybe the author was simply a clever engineer. Maybe it was an early internet storytelling experiment. Or maybe, just maybe, the internet once had a visitor from another timeline. And if that's true, then somewhere out there might be another version of the year 2000, where John Titor logged into a forum and people actually believed him.